5 seconds. That's all it took for the hangar to freeze. The roar of a $20 million prototype helicopter filled the air. But all eyes were locked on Clara Turner, crouched beside the gleaming Valkyrie V9. Her orange maintenance jumpsuit clung to her, streaked with grease and rotor dust. Yet her posture radiated focus. Her fingers moved with precision, wiping the rotor blades, checking every seam, every panel, as if the helicopter could sense her intent. From above, Ethan Vallon, the new CEO of Aerosky Corporation, leaned against the observation deck railing. Tall, sharp-featured, every inch the commanding figure in a Navy suit, he surveyed the engineers like a general evaluating his troops. His voice cut through the hum of machinery. "Who's going to fly this thing?" Silence. The engineers shifted uncomfortably, avoiding each other's eyes. They had built the most advanced helicopter in the world, the Valkyrie V9, but none of them wanted to risk their lives to test it. Their brilliance faltered against fear, and the room was heavy with it. Clara's thoughts flashed to Lila, her 9-year-old daughter. Every morning, Lila hugged her tightly and whispered, "Mom, you don't need awards to be a hero. You already are." That memory steadied her. She wasn't invisible, not today. Ethan's piercing gaze fell on Clara, a smirk tugging at his lips. "You think you can fly it?" he said, mockery sharp as a knife. Clara rose slowly, dust motes dancing in the sunlight streaming through the hangar. "I don't think," she said, voice calm but firm. "I know." Laughter erupted, sharp and biting. Phones whipped out. Clips would go viral before lunch. Whispered comments floated. "She's just the janitor." What they didn't know, Clara Turner had once ruled the skies. A decorated Air Force lieutenant colonel, a tactical flight instructor, a woman who had flown combat missions others only read about. A helicopter crash had ended it all. Her crew saved, her leg shattered, her career over. The world hadn't seen her since. Ethan stepped forward, the echo of his shoes against concrete punctuating his words. "Fly this helicopter, successfully, and I'll make it interesting. I'll marry you." A tense beat. Then another. Clara's jaw tightened. She didn't reply. She walked toward the Valkyrie V9. Each step measured, confident. The crowd parted instinctively. Her eyes scanned the sleek black rotor system. The tail boom, the landing skids. Every line of metal and glass with the precision only a seasoned pilot could muster. Inside the cockpit, Clara strapped in. The headset clicked snugly over her ears. She exhaled slowly, letting her mind flash through every manual memorized during her 6 months of cleaning shifts. Lights blinked, instruments hummed, systems powered up. 6 inches. 1 foot. 3 feet. The helicopter lifted smoothly, rotating in a controlled hover. Clara's hands danced over the controls, each movement deliberate, fluid. She banked sharply, dipped low, executed tactical maneuvers that made engineers gasp. The Valkyrie responded as if it had always known her hands. When she touched down, the rotors whispered against the concrete, gentle as a feather. She climbed out, her visor lifted, revealing eyes bright with quiet triumph. The crowd stood frozen. Laughter had died. Shock replaced mockery. Clara walked to Ethan, calm, unshakable. Her eyes held truth, not arrogance. "Coffee first," she said, casual but pointed. "Marriage can wait." In that moment, a janitor, once invisible, had reminded everyone that dignity, courage, and unseen strength didn't need applause to exist. Cameras were still rolling. The world was about to learn her story, and what happened next would shake Aerosky to its core. 5 seconds. That was all it took for the hangar to explode with tension. Clara Turner's hands were still trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of what she had just accomplished. The Valkyrie V9 rested like a coiled predator, rotors still spinning down, but its power felt alive under her gaze. Engineers clustered in stunned silence, phones slipping from sweaty fingers, eyes wide as disbelief replaced laughter. Every breath seemed suspended in time. From the observation deck, Ethan Vallon, CEO of Aerosky, leaned forward, his dark eyes sharp as a hawk. The tailored Navy suit hugged his tall frame perfectly, heels echoing like gunshots on the concrete floor. "Tomorrow we launch publicly," he said, voice smooth, cutting, dangerous. "Someone has to fly it again." Silence. Not a single hand rose. Not one engineer dared move. They had built the most advanced helicopter in history, the Valkyrie V9, but real flight was a different beast. Simulations could never prepare someone for the smell of rotor wash, the vibration under your hands, or the split-second decisions that meant life or death. Fear had coated brilliance with paralysis. Clara's mind flicked to Lila, her 9-year-old daughter. Every morning, Lila hugged her tightly and whispered, "Mom, you don't need awards to be a hero. You already are." Those words burned through her chest, a steadying flame in the middle of chaos. She wasn't invisible, not today. Ethan's smirk sharpened as he descended the stairs. "You did well today," he said, his voice deceptively calm. "But one good flight doesn't make a test pilot." Clara straightened, her eyes hard. "I'm not here to impress you," she said, voice quiet but powerful, the kind that made people stop mid-breath. "I'm here to ensure this helicopter flies safely, for the crew, for your investors, for everyone who believes in it." The engineers shifted, whispering among themselves. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Others still smirked, unwilling to admit how wrong they were. "She's just the janitor." Her thoughts traveled back to the crash that ended her military career. The fireball, the twisted metal, the screams of her crew, the pain in her leg that never fully healed. She remembered dragging the injured to safety, ignoring her own injuries. Every medal she earned felt hollow after losing everything she loved. But that past had forged her into steel, invisible yet unbroken. Ethan's voice cut the air again. "All right. Who here wants to fly this tomorrow? Raise your hands." Silence. Clara's boots clicked against the floor, echoing like a heartbeat. She stepped forward. "I will," she said, steady, deliberate. "I'll fly it." A laugh erupted, sharp, bitter. "You? Cleaning floors?" A young engineer sneered. "You haven't even flown in years." Clara's gaze froze him. Ice met fire. "I may not have your offices or your degrees," she said slowly, her voice sharp but calm. "But I know how to read machines. I know how to survive when stakes are life or death. And I know how to protect the people relying on me." Ethan leaned closer, curiosity flickering over his features. "Do you even remember how?" Clara smiled faintly. "Every memory. Every maneuver. Every emergency drill. You think being invisible for 6 months makes me weak? It makes me sharper. I've been learning your helicopter like a secret." The engineers murmured in awe. Phones lowered. Even Ethan's smirk faded, replaced by something that almost looked like respect. Clara walked to the Valkyrie V9, her fingertips brushing the sleek fuselage. The black metal gleamed under the fluorescent lights, reflecting her determined eyes. She whispered almost reverently, "Time to show them who sees and who survives." Ethan's voice broke the silence, low and incredulous. "You're insane." She didn't answer. She climbed into the cockpit, straps clicking tight, headset sealing her world. Electronics hummed alive. Instruments lit up like a city at night. Her hands moved over the controls, checking, testing, commanding. The rotors whined to life, slow then faster, cutting the air. Clara exhaled. This was her world, and she would own it. Tomorrow the world would see the janitor rise, the invisible mother claim the skies, and Aero Sky would never be the same. But what happened in the cockpit next, no one could predict. 5 seconds. That was all it took for the hangar to feel like a battlefield. Clara Turner's palms were already slick, not with fear, but with adrenaline. The Valkyrie V9's rotors hummed low, vibrating through her fingertips as if testing her resolve. Dust swirled around her boots, papers scattered, lights flickered. The helicopter waited, alive, anticipating. Every eye in the hangar fixed on her. Every heartbeat seemed amplified. Ethan Vallen's gaze pierced the crowd, tall and commanding, suit crisp, jaw tight. "This isn't a simulation," he said, voice low, deliberate, dangerous. "One mistake, one miscalculation, and it's over." Clara exhaled, tasting the tension. Lila's voice echoed in her mind. "Mom, you don't need medals to be my hero." That memory grounded her, focused her, reminded her that courage wasn't about applause. It was about showing up. She flicked switches. Lights blinked. Instruments hummed like a living organism. The rotors spun faster, wind lashing against the hangar walls, rattling the fluorescent lights. Engineers instinctively ducked. Phones shook. Cameras recorded every second of this rising storm. The Valkyrie lifted 6 inches. 1 foot. 3 feet. Clara tilted the cyclic slightly, feeling the machine's balance respond as though it had a mind of its own. A sharp bank to the left. Smooth tactical roll. Engineers gasped. Ethan's lips pressed into a thin line, astonishment flickering behind his calm demeanor. Clara's thoughts raced. Engine failure. Rotor stress. Autopilot override. Every emergency she had trained for flashed in her mind. Each response came naturally, as if her fingers remembered secrets her lips couldn't speak. She pushed the aircraft to the edge, hovering, banking, diving, yet every movement remained precise. Dust erupted from the hangar floor as she dove low. Concrete blurred beneath her. The roar of the rotors grew into a deafening symphony. Clara yanked back, climbing sharply. The Valkyrie responded with grace, rising like a predator claiming the sky. The engineers watched, wide-eyed, some frozen, some whispering. Marcus, older and skeptical, muttered, "She's unbelievable." Clara allowed a brief smile. She didn't need validation. Every maneuver was proof that skill and courage existed beyond titles, offices, or uniforms. Invisible people could wield extraordinary power when pushed to their edge. Next, the landing. Precision was everything. Her hands flowed over the controls, perfectly synchronized with the machine. The skids kissed the concrete like a whisper. Rotors slowed, wind calmed. Silence blanketed the hangar. Clara removed her headset, dust on her cheeks, sweat in her hair. She stepped out, boots clicking against concrete, eyes locked on Ethan. His smirk had vanished, replaced with something she hadn't expected: respect, awe, recognition. "Coffee," she said, voice quiet but sharp. "Marriage proposals can wait." The engineers whispered, astonished. Phones still recording. They had witnessed more than a flight. They had seen discipline, courage, and the quiet brilliance of someone deemed invisible. Ethan approached her slowly. "You didn't just fly it. You tested it. Every system, every limit, perfectly." Clara's smile softened. "I trusted it. I studied it. I've been learning it in the shadows while the world ignored me for 6 months." The room was silent. Realization, shame, and awe mingled. Respect replaced mockery. Fear replaced hesitation. Ethan's voice broke the quiet, decisive now. "You'll lead our flight program. Train our pilots. You're our chief test pilot. Full authority, full recognition." Clara shook her head gently. "I'll think about it. Lila comes first. Always." The world had watched the invisible mother rise, claim the skies, and shatter expectations. But tomorrow, Clara would face the Valkyrie V9 in the open skies, under scrutiny, with danger lurking at every turn. And this time, failure wasn't just impossible, it was unthinkable. 5 seconds. That's all it took for the entire hangar to erupt in laughter. "Fly this helicopter, and I'll marry you," Ethan Valen barked, his voice dripping with mockery, as Clara Turner polished the observation windows. Cameras snapped, phones recorded, and every engineer in the room leaned forward, anticipating her reaction. Clara didn't flinch. Her hands rested on the squeegee, calm, steady. A small smile tugged at her lips, but her eyes were cold, focused. "You don't need medals to be my hero, Mom told me." The thought steadied her. "Excuse me," Clara said evenly, stepping forward. "You said someone needs to fly it. Maybe you're looking in the wrong place." Laughter erupted, louder this time. Phones zoomed in. Marcus, one of the older engineers, shook his head in disbelief. "You can't be serious," he muttered. "I am," Clara replied, unflinching. She set down her cleaning supplies and moved toward the Valkyrie V9, her boots echoing against the concrete. The helicopter gleamed in the morning light, rotors slowly spinning, almost alive, awaiting her touch. Ethan's smirk faltered. He stepped closer, towering in his suit. You're just a janitor. Do you even know what you're touching?" Clara ignored him, opening the cockpit door. She slid inside like she belonged there, settling into the seat as naturally as breathing. Instruments lit up. The engineers leaned in. Phones raised higher. The rotors began to spin faster. The low hum became a roar that vibrated through the hangar walls. Clara's fingers danced over the controls, switches flipping, dials adjusting. She didn't hesitate. Every movement was confident, precise. The Valkyrie lifted, 6 inches, a foot 3 feet, then hovered perfectly balanced. Engineers gasped. Ethan froze, eyes widening. Clara banked sharply, performing a tactical maneuver that sent a wave of awe through the crowd. She dove low over the hangar floor, then pulled up aggressively, pushing the helicopter to its limits. Dust swirled, papers flew, wind ripped through hair and clothing. Every second was a statement. Skill, focus, courage. She tested autopilot, then switched to manual, executing maneuvers that only a combat-trained pilot could handle. The Valkyrie responded like an extension of her body. Silence fell the moment she brought it down for a landing. Skids touched the concrete gently, rotors winding down to a whisper. The hangar held its breath. Clara removed her headset, standing and brushing dust from her sleeves. Her eyes met Ethan's. The laughter was gone. Shock replaced it. Humiliation flickered across his face. You flew it. Flawlessly, he said finally, voice low, almost incomprehensible. Clara smiled, small, controlled. I trusted it. I studied it. I've been learning it in plain sight for 6 months. Invisible doesn't mean incapable. Marcus stepped forward, pale. She's incredible. Ethan's jaw tightened. He had underestimated her. Publicly. Spectacularly. His smirk vanished, replaced by a reluctant respect. Clara leaned against the cockpit, calm, triumphant. About the marriage proposal, she said lightly. Coffee first. We can negotiate the rest later. The crowd erupted in laughter. Not mocking but celebratory. Phones continued recording. Social media gold. She hadn't just flown the helicopter. She had flipped every expectation in the room. Tomorrow, Clara would face the Valkyrie V9 in real external conditions, with unpredictable weather, mechanical anomalies, and the full weight of Ethan's scrutiny. The stakes were higher, the skies unforgiving, and failure was no longer an option. 5 seconds. The wind slammed into Clara Turner like a wall, ripping at her jacket, whipping her hair into her face. The Valkyrie V9 trembled on the runway, engines screaming, rotors slicing the air like blades. She gritted her teeth. This isn't just a test, it's survival. Ethan Vallon stood on the observation deck, suit flapping, arms crossed. External flight, he barked. No duto pailit. Prove you can handle it. Cameras zoomed in, phones recorded every second. Engineers whispered nervously behind him, some shaking, some frozen. Clara adjusted her headset, her gloved hands steady. She glanced at the instruments. Fuel, rotor temp, hydraulics, all green. She took a deep breath, remembering Lila's voice. Mom, you're my hero. Always. That thought grounded her. The Valkyrie lifted. 1 foot. 2. 10. Dust spiraled, scattering papers and caution cones. Wind roared in her ears, pushing against the fuselage. She leveled off, banking left, eyes scanning the horizon. Then it hit. A sudden gust from the east, unexpected, violent. The helicopter tilted dangerously. Clara's fingers flew over the controls, correcting the tilt in a heartbeat. Sweat streamed down her face, adrenaline pumping. The crowd on the ground gasped. Marcus muttered. She's keeping it alive. Check hydraulics. Ethan's voice crackled through the comm, pressures dropping. Clara's mind raced. Manual override engaged. The gauge showed a slow leak in the tail rotor hydraulics. Panic flared briefly, but she swallowed it. Focus. Precision. Calm. She adjusted the cyclic, redistributed weight, controlled the tilt, and stabilized the Valkyrie mid-air. Below, engineers whispered frantic calculations. Some were taking notes, others frozen in awe. Ethan clenched his jaw, realizing this wasn't luck. It was skill, discipline, instinct honed over years he couldn't imagine. Clara climbed higher, testing autopilot again. She executed a steep tactical roll, skimming over treetops, pulling up into a sharp vertical ascent. The helicopter roared, rotors slicing through the clouds like knives. The sky bent around her, thunderclouds rolling in. Lightning flashed, illuminating her determined face. The instruments beeped. Sensors flagged anomalies. Wind shear, rotor vibration, tail rotor pressure fluctuating. Clara's hands moved almost faster than thought, anticipating every reaction. This machine trusts me. I trust it. Her heart pounded as she dipped low for a precision maneuver around a training tower. One misstep, one miscalculation, and the Valkyrie could tip over. She held her breath, executed flawlessly, and pulled up into a hover. The crowd below erupted. Cheers, stunned gasps, phones capturing every second. Sweat mixed with grime on her cheeks. She spoke softly to herself, almost a whisper. For Lila, always for her. Clara lined up the landing approach. Rotors screaming, tail rotor warning light blinking red. She eased the Valkyrie down. Skids kissed the ground gently, dust clouding around her like a victory banner. Silence followed, a tense, heavy pause, before eruptions of applause broke out. Ethan descended the observation deck stairs, face pale, respect shining in his eyes. You handled everything. External flight, extreme conditions, mechanical anomalies. Perfectly. Clara exhaled, gloves off, hair plastered. I prepared. I learned. I trusted it, and myself. Marcus stepped forward, voice shaking. I've worked here 15 years. I've never seen anyone fly like that. Ever. Clara smiled faintly, sweat and dirt streaked on her face. Invisible doesn't mean incapable. Tomorrow, Clara faces a new test. Public media scrutiny, investors watching, and a sabotage threat that could destroy everything she's fought for. The Valkyrie may be ready, but the world isn't, and neither is Ethan's judgment. 5 seconds. Flashing lights, camera shutters, reporters shouting questions. Clara Turner's heart raced as she stepped onto the tarmac. The Valkyrie V9 gleamed under the morning sun. Rotors spinning slowly, impatient. Every eye in the country, or at least in this hangar, was on her. Mom, you can do this, she whispered under her breath, thinking of Lila's smile. Her daughter's faith steadied her, like an anchor in a storm. Ethan Vallon stood beside the VIP area, suit impeccable, jaw tight. External demonstration for the investors, he barked to the engineers behind him. And media coverage. Don't screw this up. His tone was cold, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of nervous respect. The crowd surged forward, cameras zooming. Phones recorded every move. Reporters shouted questions. Is she really qualified? Will this prototype fail? Why hire a janitor? The words stung, but Clara blocked them. Focus. Skill. Precision. She climbed into the cockpit, adjusting her headset, scanning every dial, every gauge. Systems check green. Tail rotor, hydraulics, engines, ready. She exhaled. One step at a time. The Valkyrie lifted off the runway, hovering with surgical precision. Gasps echoed below. Cameras captured every inch of dust and rotor spin. Clara banked sharply, demonstrating tactical roles she'd perfected in the military. Her movements fluid, controlled, commanding. Suddenly, a shrill alarm rang. A sabotage warning flashed. One of the stabilizer controls had been tampered with. Panic threatened to rise, but Clara's military instincts kicked in. Focus, assess, neutralize. She adjusted the cyclic manually, redistributing weight, compensating for the malfunction. Below, Ethan's eyes widened, the engineers whispered, and reporters murmured. Phones zoomed in on her hands dancing across controls like a pianist on a grand piano. Every movement precise, every reaction anticipatory. Watch the rotors. She's compensating. Marcus shouted, unable to hide his awe. Clara pushed the Valkyrie higher, skimming over the treetops, executing controlled dives, then pulling sharply upward. She tested autopilot briefly, then manual override, performing aggressive maneuvers that showcased the aircraft's limits. Lightning cracked overhead, rain splashing on the canopy. This is for Lila. For me. For everyone who thinks invisible people aren't capable. She executed a perfect hover, then a steep tactical climb, dodging simulated obstacles set by Ethan's team. The sabotage attempt became a teaching moment. Every engineer, every investor, every journalist watching could see skill, instinct, and composure in action. Finally, she descended, lining up for a flawless landing. Skids touched the wet tarmac gently. Silence fell. Cameras clicked. Then eruption. Reporters shouted in disbelief. Engineers clapped. Phones captured viral footage in real time. Ethan stepped forward, his expression a mix of shock and grudging admiration. You handled sabotage, weather, and the public flawlessly, he admitted. I underestimated you. Clara wiped rain from her visor, hands still shaking slightly from adrenaline. I prepared. I stayed calm. I trusted my training, and this machine, she said evenly, voice carrying to every corner of the hangar. Marcus approached, voice trembling. Clara, you taught all of us something today. About skill, courage, and dignity. Clara smiled faintly. Invisible doesn't mean incapable. And being noticed doesn't make you better. It's what you do when no one's watching that defines you. Tomorrow, Clara will face her biggest challenge yet. A real-world rescue simulation over treacherous terrain, where one wrong decision could cost lives. The Valkyrie V9 isn't just a helicopter anymore. It's a test of courage, heart, and trust under fire. 5 seconds. Lightning cracked overhead. Rain slammed against the canopy, stinging Clara Turner's face as she gripped the cyclic. The Valkyrie V9 shuddered in the gusting wind, rotors screaming like wild beasts. Below, a cliffside trail was washed out, and trapped hikers cried for help. Every second counted. Clara. Visibility dropping. Gusts increasing. Ethan's voice cut through the headset, tense but calm. Investors, journalists, and engineers watched live from the hangar and screens miles away. Every eye was on her. Clara's jaw tightened. Lila's words flashed in her mind. Mom, you're my hero. Always. Her daughter's faith steadied her. This isn't a test. This is saving lives. She banked sharply, dodging a sudden crosswind that slammed against the helicopter's tail. The rotors tilted dangerously, instruments flashing warnings. She adjusted the cyclic, redistributing weight, anticipating the turbulence. Sweat and rain mixed on her face. A low thrum signaled a hydraulic strain. The tail rotor wobbled. Panic whispered in her mind. Then she silenced it. Focus. Skill. Precision. She stabilized the Valkyrie midair, eyes scanning for the stranded hikers, their tiny forms clinging to the cliff's edge. Hover over the cliff. Slow descent. Ethan instructed, voice tense. Wind shears brutal. Clara's hands moved like instinct, fingers dancing across controls. She dipped carefully, battling gusts, rain, and debris. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and she could tip over, crash, or worse, fail. The hikers shouted, waving, panicked, terrified. Clara locked eyes on them. Her voice through the intercom was calm, steady. Hold on. I've got you. A sudden gust hit from the side. The helicopter rocked violently. She fought the controls, tail rotor alarm blaring. Her heart pounded, muscles screaming, adrenaline a wildfire. Slowly, methodically, she corrected, keeping the rotors level, countering wind shear. Winch ready, she called. Ethan's voice confirmed. The cable dropped. She hovered a mere 5 feet above the jagged rocks. Rotor wash sending water and debris flying like a storm of chaos. One hiker, panicking, slipped. Clara tilted the helicopter, dipping just enough to scoop the stranded man into the harness. Another gust. Another tilt. Another correction. Every move precise, instinctive. The crowd below, cameras rolling, could hardly believe what they were witnessing. The Valkyrie danced in the storm, responding to Clara's commands like an extension of her body. Finally, all hikers were secured. Clara guided the winch upward. The rotor screaming against the rain, then backed away from the cliff with surgical precision. She leveled off, heart hammering, breathing ragged but steady. She touched down on a flat clearing. Skids kissed the wet ground. Silence fell over the live broadcast. Investors frozen, reporters gasping, engineers staring in awe. Then eruptions of applause, camera flashes, and shouts of disbelief filled the air. Ethan stepped forward, drenched, eyes wide with respect. You didn't just survive that. You dominated it. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Clara exhaled, wet hair plastered to her forehead, hands shaking slightly. I prepared. I stayed calm. I trusted the training. And I trusted myself. Marcus pushed through the crowd, voice trembling. Clara, you've redefined what it means to lead. To fly. To inspire. I don't even have words. Clara smiled faintly, exhaustion mingled with triumph. Invisible doesn't mean incapable. And being seen doesn't make you stronger. It's what you do when no one's watching that counts. Tomorrow, Clara faces the ultimate challenge. An international investor flight, media scrutiny, and a final confrontation with Ethan, testing her courage, skill, and the Valkyrie V9's limits like never before. One misstep could shatter her career, and the aircraft's reputation. 5 seconds. Clara Turner's heart hammered as the Valkyrie V9 roared to life on the private tarmac. Cameras circled, drones hovered above, and international investors stood lined along the runway, umbrellas barely shielding them from a sudden drizzle. Every eye, every lens, every heartbeat was on her. Clear for takeoff, Clara whispered, tightening her gloves. She glanced at the investors. Faces eager, skeptical, some openly doubting. And then Ethan Vallen's piercing gaze locked onto hers from the observation deck. His posture rigid, jaw clenched, pride bruised but unbroken. The rotors screamed. The Valkyrie lifted, slicing through the mist, hovering perfectly. Clara banked, rolled, executed a flawless tactical maneuver, demonstrating control that made even seasoned pilots gasp. Her mind raced ahead, checking gauges, monitoring wind drift, reading every vibration, every flicker of light on the instrument panel. Ethan, the autopilot is perfect, but I'll trust manual override, she said through the headset, steady, unwavering. The camera zoomed on her hands, nimble and precise, controlling a $20 million aircraft as if it were an extension of her body. Then disaster. One of the drones malfunctioned, swerving dangerously close to the rotor. A sudden gust hit from the left, tipping the Valkyrie toward a row of investors. Clara's instincts exploded into action. She tilted, countered, stabilized. The drone clipped the tail rotor, but she kept control. The investors gasped, clutching umbrellas, faces pale. Ethan exhaled sharply, realizing the helicopter was in her command. Clara adjusted altitude, dodging storm clouds that began rolling in. Rain hammered the canopy, limiting visibility. Lightning illuminated her face, fierce determination shining in her eyes. She steadied the aircraft, checked the instruments, hydraulics, rotors, engine green. No eres. Hover over the demo zone. Ethan's voice commanded, tension laced with begrudging respect. Clara nodded. In seconds, she executed a series of precision maneuvers. Vertical ascents, tactical dives, tight banks. Every move showed the Valkyrie's versatility and her mastery. The investors murmured in awe, some recording, some silently evaluating. Every second, Clara proved skill, courage, and instinct. The helicopter danced in the storm like a wild predator, responding instantly to her commands. Then a final challenge, a simulated emergency. A warning light blinked, a fuel valve glitch. Panic could have crept in, but Clara's voice remained calm. Think, act, solve. She engaged manual override, rerouted fuel flow, and stabilized the system mid-flight. The demonstration was flawless. She descended, aligning the Valkyrie for a perfect landing. Skids touched down silently. Cameras clicked, flashes erupted, and the hangar exploded with cheers and applause. Ethan descended from the observation deck, approaching with slow, deliberate steps, a mixture of awe and humility in his gaze. You dominated this flight, he said quietly, almost reverent. I underestimated you. Clara smiled faintly, wiping rain from her face. You judged too quickly. Everyone deserves to be seen for what they can do, not what they wear or their past. Marcus and the engineers rushed forward, some cheering, others shaking with disbelief. Clara, this changes everything, Marcus stammered. Clara's eyes softened, glancing at the investors. Courage, focus, respect. These aren't titles or degrees. They're decisions, actions, and integrity. That's how the Valkyrie V9 flies, and how we lead. Tomorrow, Clara faces the ultimate test of trust, legacy, and leadership. A covert sabotage investigation, media fallout, and a personal confrontation with those who doubted her. The Valkyrie may have survived, but Clara's next challenge could shake everything she's fought for. 5 seconds. Clara Turner's phone buzzed relentlessly. Alerts from the media, investors, and internal engineers. A critical systems anomaly had been reported in the Valkyrie V9. Sabotage. Someone had tampered with the backup hydraulics. Her heart skipped, adrenaline spiking. Not now. Not after everything we've done. Lila's face flashed in her mind. Stay calm. Stay sharp. Ethan Valen strode into the hangar, eyes dark. Clara, you're in the hot seat. Investors are asking questions. The press is circling. They want answers. Fast. Clara's fingers tightened on the tablet, scrolling system logs. Every second counted. She traced anomalies, scanning security footage. A shadow moved near the maintenance bay last night. A figure tampering with sensors. Someone with inside access. The Valkyrie stood silently in the hangar, gleaming under cold fluorescent lights. It had survived her last demonstration. But could it survive sabotage? Could she? Clear for inspection? She whispered to Ethan, who nodded reluctantly. Cameras followed her every step. Flashbulbs popped. Phones recorded. Reporters shouted questions she ignored. Focus, Clara reminded herself. Precision and calm. She climbed into the cockpit, scanning instruments. Systems check. Warning lights flickered. Manual override? Functional. Good. Hydraulics? Slightly erratic, but manageable. She exhaled, steadying her breath. This is more than flying. This is trust, instinct, and control. Outside, a storm rolled in. Dark clouds blanketed the sky, wind whipping through the hangar doors. Lightning illuminated anxious faces of investors watching live streams. Their murmurs rising to whispers, then gasps. Clara started the engine. Rotors spun, cutting through the storm like a predator. She hovered, executing precise maneuvers to test the sabotage system without triggering failure. Gusts slammed the tail, rotors screamed warnings, and every eye in the hangar followed her every move. Watch the controls. She's compensating manually. Marcus shouted, awe in his voice. The crowd leaned forward. Phones zoomed in. International media captured every flicker of lightning, every beat of sweat, every calculated motion of her hands. Suddenly, one of the backup hydraulics failed mid-hover. Alarms shrieked. Investors gasped. Reporters froze. Ethan's jaw tightened. Clara's mind worked in split-second calculations. Redistribute power, adjust cyclic, stabilize tail, hover manually. Every move measured, instinctive. She leveled the Valkyrie, dodged a rogue gust, and executed a tactical dive to test flight limits. The sabotage system held barely. She knew she had caught the saboteur in the act. Someone wanted this moment to fail, to humiliate her, to destroy her credibility. Landing perfectly, she emerged from the cockpit, rain soaking her, eyes sharp and unwavering. Cameras captured her every step. Ethan approached, face unreadable. You survived. Without a scratch. Without exposing panic. Incredible. Clara's gaze swept the room. Engineers, investors, journalists, every single person who doubted, watched, or mocked. This is what trust and preparation look like, she said firmly. Invisible effort, unseen dedication. That's what wins when chaos strikes. Marcus stepped forward, voice trembling. Clara, you've shown us all that leadership isn't about titles. It's about courage under pressure, about integrity when no one's watching. Clara nodded, eyes softening slightly. And about seeing people as people, not roles. Everyone here matters. Everyone's effort counts. Even those overlooked. Even those underestimated. Tomorrow, Clara faces the ultimate test. A live international demonstration, massive media coverage, investors watching her every move, and the final confrontation with the saboteur, where courage, skill, and heart collide. The Valkyrie's reputation, and Clara's legacy, hangs by a thread. 5 seconds. The runway stretched like a silver blade under stormy skies. Cameras, drones, and media crews surrounded the Valkyrie V9. Lenses trained on Clara Turner. International investors, journalists, engineers, all watching her. Every heartbeat counted. Every eye was a jury. Clara's gloved hands gripped the cyclic. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from the weight of everything she had fought for. Lila's words echoed in her mind. You're my hero, Mom. Always. She inhaled, letting focus replace panic. Valkyrie V9, let's fly, she whispered. The rotors screamed alive, cutting through the wind, lifting her into the storm. Lightning flashed across the horizon, illuminating her fierce, determined face. Ethan Valen watched from the observation deck, jaw tight, pride battling stubborn doubt. He had underestimated her once. He wouldn't make that mistake again. The first maneuver, a steep ascent into low clouds. Visibility 0. She executed a precision bank, dodging a rogue gust that threatened to tip the helicopter. Alarms blared. Sweat and rain mixed on her face. But Clara's hands were poetry, calm, exact, instinctive. 5 seconds later, the autopilot signal flickered. Someone had tried to sabotage her demonstration. Investigators confirmed it minutes earlier. Panic could have taken over, but she didn't flinch. Manual override engaged. Tail stabilized. Rotor adjusted. She hovered midair, calm as if time itself obeyed her. Maintain position. Investors on live feed. Ethan's voice crackled through the headset. Clara's eyes swept the horizon. She could feel every microsecond of wind, every vibration in the fuselage, every subtle nuance of control. Then the final obstacle, a simulated emergency, but one closer to reality than ever. Fuel valve glitch. Instrument alert screaming. Reporters gasped. Cameras zoomed in. She tilted, countered, recalculated, stabilized, and executed a tactical dive to test the Valkyrie's limit. Every second showcased her mastery, courage, and calm. The helicopter responded flawlessly, a perfect extension of her skill and heart. Investors leaned forward, mouths agape. Engineers exchanged wide-eyed glances. Ethan exhaled slowly, respect unspoken but blazing in his eyes. Clara landed smoothly on the runway. The rotors slowed. Silence fell. Then a wave of applause erupted, thunderous, overwhelming, unstoppable. Cameras flashed, drones hovered, reporters shouted, and phones captured every frame. She stepped out of the cockpit, drenched in rain, chest heaving, hair plastered to her face, but eyes blazing with triumph. Ethan descended the observation deck, stopping just a few feet away. His face, usually stern and unyielding, softened. You redefined everything, he said quietly, almost reverently. Skill, courage, leadership, humility. You've earned it all. Clara's gaze swept the crowd, eyes meeting engineers, investors, reporters, everyone who had doubted her. This is what invisible effort looks like. What courage under pressure looks like. What dedication and integrity look like, she said firmly. The Valkyrie V9 is more than an aircraft. It's proof of preparation, trust, and heart. Marcus approached, shaking. Clara, I've never seen anything like this in my entire career. You've taught us all a lesson in leadership, humility, and courage. Clara smiled faintly, voice softer now. We all have battles we hide. Everyone here has fought. Everyone here matters. Titles don't make you heroic. Actions do. Courage does. Seeing people does. From the crowd, Lila ran forward, rain soaking her hair, eyes wide. She hugged her mother tightly. I told you, Mom. You're my hero. Clara lifted her, tears mixing with rain, feeling the weight of every challenge, every sacrifice, every moment of invisibility wash away. Ethan extended a hand, finally offering genuine respect. Clara shook it, her eyes steady. No more underestimating anyone, she said. The Valkyrie V9 gleamed under the clearing sky, rotors still. As sunlight broke through the clouds, Clara Turner stood with Lila in her arms, surrounded by applause, cameras, and respect finally earned. She had flown through storms, literal and figurative, and emerged victorious. Invisible no longer. Her courage, skill, and heart had rewritten the rules. The sky was hers. And now, she soared not just in the Valkyrie, but in life itself. If Clara's courage touched your heart, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more soul-stirring stories.